Welcome to the song breakdown of Life. This song started in the studio where I had a vocalist and one guy at the guitar. And we kind of just started with these recordings here, which I did on my iPhone. Then we did like a second recording and then some strumming. Didn't sound too good, but it got like that crisp recording of the iPhone. And then I tried to record with another guitarist in the studio. But it didn't quite get the same intimate feeling of the iPhone recording, so I just blended those two together. It sounds like this. Basic chord, muted palms there, and then going into like a strum verse. So this is the initial idea we had. So it resolves into the hook part, which was kind of tricky to get working because the entire song is based on two different ideas. So the first idea is like the guitars here, and then the second idea or part is the piano coming in here. So this was actually another project, and I kind of just blended those together for like an euphoric EDM vibe. But the problem was it had like two different tempos. So I had to go from 135 to 128 beats per minute. And it was kind of tricky, but I think it worked all right. So if you listen to the transition here.
Always remember, light will guide you when darkness is around.
It's kind of slowing down in the hook, but it works also in the transition here because now it's in the original 128 for the piano.
Back to
Let's move on to the guitars in the hook part. There's basically three different layers here. So let me just solve those. So I'm actually not happy at all with these guitars. It kind of just worked when you place it together with the other layers of the song. So if you take a listen without the vocals. You kind of get that strummed feel in the downstroke at the one. Then we have like the real guitars down here. With a ton of processing on. So noise reduction. Basically EQs and compressor. Also some send verb with delay. And there's also a plug-in guitar strum here. And I just had to use that to fill out the gaps. Yeah, so overall ugly guitars, but kind of works for the hook part. So there's no guitars before second verse, and I wanted to keep the energy up, so it's just strummed guitars here. There's also 2 additional layers. And then it goes with the iPhone recording, of course, with the real chords, and then into the second hook. And this one has a different layer because the drums has that different drive. So it didn't work to just strum it. So this is done with the Contact 7 with the guitar library. So didn't use a real guitar there, but it's blended with the iPhone recording. So that's it for the guitars. Let's move on to the drum and bass. So the drum starts with a simple kick, together with some shakers. And the kick is from a pack shared by Echo Soundworks, and he sampled some kicks from some famous artists. So I used the kick from Avicii Nights, and kind of worked alright for the verse. And then the interesting part is in the hook, where it's building kind of like this. You have some tabs. And I use this plugin from Cleveground, Skaka, together with some shakers and hats. And then you have like the build up with some fills. So the drop got some interesting drums. I used kick 3 for the kick. Preset called Dance Pop 2. Some shakers, some cashmere snares, also some ride. And all together it sounds like this. Yeah, just wanted to have that momentum in the drop right away with shakers, snares, crash, everything. So the energy and impact was there at the beginning. Let's move on to the second verse. So here it's only a kick and some hat loop. And it's building on the verse 2B section with some additional shakers and hats. And then a clap on the second half, switching between. And even more energy and claps in the hook part. So for the basses, I use this plugin, and the preset is called TUC bass, and I also blended it with the Trillion bass, get a bit more acoustic vibe. And it has some processing on. this from waves, compressing it, some side chaining, RC retrocolor, yeah, and kickstart. So in the hook it goes into these chords here, which are the bass, Reese bass together with the sub, so this is the sub part and this is the Reese. Just controlling some of those low end. I think this is Serum, yeah, Serum 2. And the sub is basically Serum 2 also. I think this is East-West strings with a low bass string. Use Waves pusher too. Yeah, so it's basically those three layers for the hook. Works well for that legato sound together with the vocals.
Lights will guide you when darkness is around. Lights will guide you. The darkness you'll be found. Bring it back to life.
So there's no bass in the instrumental. It just builds up with effects and sweeps, and then the bass goes into the drop, which sounds like this. So we basically have three different layers. We have some plucky bass just from Nexus, and then we have this subby bass from Silent. And the rest is some fill sounds coming in with some phaser effect and shaper box on the filter. And then I have some more crispy bass sounds made with Silent. This is just the init preset together with some processing, and this is just another layer. Got some bit crusher, EM pusher, yeah, different plugins here. And that's basically the drop. Verse 2 goes into the same as verse 1. Some driving bass there. Just straightforward all the way. Second part, hook. Yeah, but then in the second instrumental, we have the bass going with the piano. So that's the only difference, and then the same is in the drop. That's it for the bass. Let's move on to the chords. So for the chords, I wanted to keep it moving at all times. So if you listen to when they first hit. There's small movements all the way through. So I used Ilya Efimov guitar, and then it's Serum patches. blended with vital. Some piano from called Neuer. But this layer here is really what's moving the rhythm. Some chords from Arturia. And then this is Zebra too, I think. Yeah. So this is just the default preset from Zebra. I think these are also from Zebra and maybe panned. Yeah, panned left and right, but just a tiny bit. More of like a phaser effect. So everything moving into the hook part. So this plugin from Arturia emulates the Juno 6 and it's very like minor, but it just adds some glue to the whole mix. And these kind of helps bring those 80s sounds forward and also just have a ton of other strings. This from Massive. A ton of other legato chords. Omnisphere. And all of the chords are moving at all times. So the Zebra I think is automated with the cutoff. Cutoff and EQ. Also some leads, just different sounds stacked. Some counter melodies from the Ilya FMO. And the piano is really what's having the weight on the whole hook part. So this is just me recording really quickly the chords, but then going into the MIDI notes, changing the start of the lower notes up to the higher, so you get a minor like strumming effect. And then some fills. And all of these stacks sounds very powerful together. And all of the counter melodies is just back and forth with a lot of experimentation. Like these, for example. From East West. It's just a copy of the hook. I mean like vocals.
The darkness you'll be found.
And the rest just follows the lead, which is this sound here. So the chords kind of follow the lead.
Lights will guide you when darkness is around.
Just the sound from Nexus and piano sound. Alright, let's move on to the transition into the instrumental. So this part I really wanted to capture that big EDM anthem vibe. So let's listen to everything together. Basically, the piano is the driving force in this part. And there's also a synth from Silent. And there's no sidechain before the drop. And in the drop I use the kick sidechain to a compressor. So just ducking the volume. And I prefer this method over kickstart or any other plugin with sidechain, because this one makes it more powerful, and I can also have the lock ahead, which tells the compressor to react before it's even reacting. So it's a recommended method for having more impactful sidechain. So there's some guitar hairs also moving with build-up. And it's basically just these sounds, but there are some layers coming in here. So there's a saw patch or saw chords coming in the drop, together with some silent chords and Nexus again. This is basically panned a bit left to keep space, and there's some other sounds here too, which are more plucky. And then there's this true piano plugin, same one as Avicii used. And then there's some distortion here, just to fill out some mids. So in the drop there's also some plucks coming in here. Some kind of glass sounds. In the effect section there's not too much going on. Some boom here for the intro. Some sweeps in the transition with some drum sounds. And then you have like the tams in the hook. The interesting part here is, so it's basically the same in every transition, but here in the build-up there's some samples, some drone sounds, and then there's like a square up. So this is off grid, or kind of off tempo. It doesn't match the BPM, because I wanted that part to just be like free, kind of sweep up. But this one is interesting. It's using a reversed crystallizer plugin together with pitch map, some distortion, a bit crusher, which are automated. And filter and some verb really makes that atmosphere work great into the drop. And then there are some bass patches, just adding some of those notes at the end. This was using VPS Avenger, just a preset, bass preset from there. Yeah, and the rest is basically the same, with just a boom at the end. Alright, my favorite part, the leads. These are basically two melodies, so let me just play it. So it's just different patches from Nexus. a pan flute, pianos, and some solids. So the only difference is a counter melody coming in on the second drop. And it's basically Avenger sounds with some silent, just stacked a bunch of sounds together. And it goes a bit different than the main melody. So I was kind of like back and forth with this one because I had it muted and then unmuted because it kind of crashes with the main melody. But I just had to have something different in the second drop. So I just felt it was interesting because it goes a bit different on the transitions. And then I also have another layer coming in. So these are two silent patches. So these actually have a ton of automation. So it's like the attack, the sustain, the filter, the pitch, everything is automated. The cutoff is automated. The reverb, sustain, getting tighter and tighter before landing off in the ending here. And there's also panned a bit left and right to give it space. So usually when I record vocals, I focus on the lead first. So learn this by other producers. By focusing on the lead, it's much easier to build down the rest of the song structure. So I open up always in every vocal session, I open up a new project and I import the instrumental of the track. And then we record basically the verses. And we just go by section. So first the verse, then the hook, and then usually we just go through the whole thing at once, like in one take or two takes. And then we go back, listen to some improvements we can do. And it's just all about improving the lead at all times. So for this one, I figure out it has a bit of strong autotune on it. But on this part, I really want the autotune to shine. So if you listen. So I use Melodyne. And Melodyne is great for like getting those notes dialed perfect in. So I just hard tune them by pitching them really hard. So the autotune is kind of obvious, just to give like the EDM transition makes sense, like in the overall transition. Bring it back to life. So yeah, I just thought it was a cool thing to do. And after we made the lead as we wanted, we had a singer making the stack underneath on the hook. Sounds like this. Lights will guide you when darkness is around. Lights will guide you. So these are printed. So it got like a vocal chain. I usually do from Slate Digital virtual mix rack. Choose some presets and then I'll just dial in whatever brightness, or if it's too harsh or compressor is just sitting right. And then I have like 4 different send channels. So it's very simple. Actually, it's just a ROM plugin from Native Instruments to make it airy. So there's basically two different verbs, Valhalla and Rome, and then there's 2 different delays. So this one is 1/8 delay, and this one is 1/4. So that's the usual thing, and I always have them on, but I automate them to switch back and forth depending on the feel or vibe I'm going for. So it's if I want like an up-tempo faster thing, I'm going for the 8th tempo in the delay, and vice versa. If I want a more slow feel, I go for the 1/4. So in the delay part, there's always some EQ on the highs. I can try and play that. And I always have reverb on it, because you're not supposed to actually hear the delay, but you want to have it in there.
Lights will guide you when darkness is around. Lights will guide you.
And the reverb is kind of like some airy long reverb, and then I have a more warm, kind of subtle, overall general verb.
Will guide you when darkness is around.
The warm verb, and then I have
Lights will guide you.
the bright verb.
The darkness you'll be found.
So that's my usual basic approach. Yeah, but let's move back to the background vocals here.
Will guide you when darkness is around.
So it's basically a lead and then 2 additional dubs, pan left and right, just singing the same thing. And then we have some dubs with the original vocalist too, which is these.
Lights will guide you when darkness is around.
So it's important to mention that everything is a copy from the lead. So this has a vocal chain on it. It's already printed. So the vocal chain is actually this one, which I used on my voice. And it's basically, I can show you actually, just go through the vocal chain real quick. So it's an EQ, some tuning, virtual mix rack, some more tonal EQs, DS, compressor, which in this one is already has 2 compressors, but it needs another compressor to level or even out the faster and slower compressor from earlier. And then I have a limiter on, just pushing everything up. Some more tonal EQ. Another de-esser, because usually in every track, or at least in dubs or background, you want to remove the S's, like almost completely, because the S's are really strong in the hook.
Lights will guide you.
So you still want them there, but kind of it's very strong in the lead, so it's almost completely removed. And the reason I have 2 DS's is because I want to have one taking the high S, which are around 9 to 10K. And then I want to capture the lower S, which are about 6.8K. So together they usually sound really good. And when we record, we usually also get a lot of like mouth sounds in the microphone, which isn't that pleasing. So I use this plugin, Mouth Declick, to remove any mouth clicks and such. Yeah, and these are the dubs, which use the same vocal chain as the main, which is this one, but it's more subtle, because the main vocal is the one in the front, and everything is secondary. So the dials in the compressor and stuff is dialed back compared to the main vocal, if that makes sense. It's basically not as strong as the main vocal, because this you want to have this one in front to really pop. So these are more subtle.
Lights will guide you when darkness is around. Lights will guide you. Lights will guide you.
And then there's me underneath.
Lights will guide you when darkness is around.
Just wanted a bit more air. And then I have some reversed reverb hits. Yeah, and then we're basically singing the same thing with some lower octaves and some higher octaves, but in the transition I also added some vocals myself. So these are formatted really low.
Bring you back to life.
Panned left and right, and then you have some more falsetto.
Back to life.
Just tuned really hard. And you have some more here.
Back to life.
Which really was needed to keep the energy into the transition, like the EDM anthem part.
Bring it back to life.
And then I have the same transition here in the drop.
Bring it back to life.
And also the same before verse 2. Yeah, so really simple, straightforward vocals. Just some minor harms in the harmonies in the verse 2.
Days when he was young, that was the best day of my life. He said, always remember, put your hands up high, reach for the stars. Don't let anybody tell you who you are. Now you gone, but memories still alive. He said, lights.
So just a feel of what was needed in the track. Recorded some additional harms and dubs, and also some shouts in the transition here. I think the hook is the same in the second hook, but there was this part here, which has some vocal chops. It's just a formatted vocal. So it was tricky because the tempo changes while it's having all those effects, which do lead to some artifacts, like on the delays and stuff. So I just had to smooth that out with some reverb. But basically these vocal chops are made with a combination of Melodyne, where I formatted the different notes here. And it's really hard tuned too. Format going up and format going down. And then are some effects here where the format is really low and the pitch is low. And I used a combination of this plugin and also manipulator. And then some delay throws. Yeah. I think I also pitched some of these directly into the... No, it's actually just the same. Yeah, so basically just formatted and used Melodyne. And it has these reversed vocal hits here. So this is using the black hole reverb from Eventide, a really long reverb, which you can also freeze, by the way. if you want like a cool drone sound, which on Valhalla's Shimmer. And then, yeah, so this is the bridge part where I have the vocal chops and just a lot of long reverbs, then going back into the transition here. And the rest are some vocal hits. Yeah, just really simple, quickly done vocals. And yeah, hope you learned something from this.